Saint Peter or Saint anyone. You pray to God. He doesn't share his power with anyone. And I say he's not even because he's a man. We can't even comprehend this being. I find scientific miracles in a book written by some guy in a cave that couldn't read and write. And even if he could, how the hell? There's like 100 to 200 scientific facts in that book that no one could have known. Like, for example, that the Dead Sea is the lowest point above sea level in the entire world. There was no way Muhammad could have known this. It's impossible. That's the same area that Sodom and Gomorrah, we believe, was smashed into the earth. That's why it's called the Dead Sea. Mm-hmm. And it turned out in the last century, we found out it is the lowest surface point on earth. How could the Prophet Muhammad have known that back then? There was no way to have measured that or known. Anywhere in the world, no one could have known that. So when I see scientific facts, I know algebra came from Islam. The science and the technology, where would we be without algebra right now? But we would be as advanced as we are?
I mean, is it possible that humanity, different parts of humanity and civilizations were more advanced mathematically or technically?
I agree.
Than we are today?
There was some fusion.
And we lost knowledge?
Absolutely. The part I love the most is like you have all these people online, like they believe in these, like the global agenda, which I do believe in, right? And they say, well, those buildings that came down on 9/11, I was in those buildings. We spoke about this. I know you interviewed so many people, but if you go back to the previous 2 episodes, I think even the first one, I discussed how I was there that day underneath the building when it got knocked down, right? So it's not like I didn't experience this.
What were you doing there?
I was going to school, bro. Second year, sophomore year, I'm going to Pace University. Doors open, people screaming, yelling. I'm like, what the? I didn't know what was. I didn't even know the building's on fire above us. It was crazy. But I love how people go, I know that it was the Muslims didn't do it. They just blamed them to start war. Because there's a lot of people that believe that, right? I'm talking about.
What do they believe?
They believe
you're going really fast.
They believe that those buildings were taken down to false flag and take, to do what they've done in the Middle East over the last 25 years.
Right.
There's large swaths of people that believe that.
Right.
Okay, I'm not even getting into that. But I'm talking about even non-Christians. What I find it funny is if you believe that that was a false flag and that those were destroyed by anyone else except the guy with the long beard who miraculously flew 2 jumbo jets into this building and they miraculously found the passport on the floor and they miraculously killed him and then dumped his body because they didn't want to give the American people the right.
Right.
I, as someone that was in the World Trade Center, I want to see his body. I deserve that justice.
Did you? I just saw this recently. I read something.
They just threw his body over. No pictures, no nothing. Come on, man.
Did you read the story about, and Steve, you're going to have to look this up to find the article, but there was a story that he was flown to Saudi Arabia by the CIA.
Fahrenheit 9/11, the doc had covered some of that.
He went to a hospital because he had some sort of like a thing with his liver or his pancreas.
Diabetes. No, he had diabetes.
Something was going on with him medically where he had an emergency procedure done in Saudi Arabia in a hospital. And this was like a year before 9/11. And he went to the hospital and he was being supervised there by like CIA people.
He definitely existed. I'm not denying his existence. He was a real person.
Who? Osama?
Bin Laden, yeah. Oh. There's people that think he's just a boogeyman. No, he existed. I just don't know if he was really alive. How do we really know, bro? I wanted to see his body.
Yeah.
I think the American people deserve to see his body. As a 9/11 survivor, and I hate to use that word, but as someone that was underneath those buildings that day and watched people die right in front, I thought hundreds of thousands of people were dead that day. I mean, I cried.
You were there right under the tower before it collapsed? I was
on the E train. Last stop is World Trade. I'm underneath it, man. I'm in the sublevels coming up. I was probably on the last subway that ever went into the World Trade Center, ever. I actually have a clip of that on my it's a reel I have right now on my Instagram.
Steve, did you find anything on that Bin Laden hospital visit?
But what I'm saying is, getting back to the original point, is if you believe that that was a false flag and all that, and that they weren't really responsible for it, then why do you hate Muslims so much? That group of people. I'm not saying all that believe that.
Right.
I find it to be a contradiction. If you feel that they use that as an excuse, then why so much animosity? Because there's a lot of people that believe that we don't know the truth about that.